Thanks everybody for tuning into the Free World Podcast. Cameron here with Tim as always. Today we had on a very special guest, Jason Hosick with Camp Rainbow Gold. They are a organization that works with families afflicted with cancer. And man, I was just captivated the whole time he was talking. And you guys listen to the show, you're going to hear me just be dumbfounded and just fall all over myself every time. He did an amazing job, and what he shared was just, I mean, it was inspiring, it was heartbreaking, it was unbelievable, and I just hung on to every word, man.
Yeah, super passionate about what he does. You can see that he communicates it well, and he is always looking for more support. So make sure that if you're a volunteer of any kind, that you stay tuned for the for his shout out at the end for how you can contact him to give back to the community, especially those who have been somewhat neglected by the American Cancer Society, from what it sounds like.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing to hear, that they parted ways, but they're still going strong and still growing. So definitely take a listen to what Jason has to say. I promise it'll mean something to you, and then when it's done, you'll have plenty of avenues to get in touch with their organization and get involved yourself. And after hearing Jason talk, I mean, I think anybody would want to find a way to get involved somehow.
Yeah, most definitely. Camp Rainbow Gold, make sure you check them out everywhere. Instagram, camprainbowgold.org.
.org, yep, they're on Facebook, Instagram,
everywhere.
All the social media platforms.
So make sure that you check them out. You give them a follow.
Absolutely. Thanks everybody for joining us today.
Thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us today on the Free World Podcast. Cameron here with Tim as always. We are joined by a very special guest today, Mr. Jason Hosick. He is a jiu-jitsu blue belt, but he also does a lot of really cool things outside of that are really a lot more important and a big part of his life, and we're excited to talk about that today. So kind of changing gears a little bit, but first I do want to ask you, can you just introduce yourself, tell us about you in general, and then we're going to talk a little bit about your jiu-jitsu.
Me in general, yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys for inviting me on. This is pretty fun. Any chance I get to talk about either of my passions, camp or BJJ, I'm totally open and willing. So, yeah, man, I am a Vegas boy, live and breathe family. Haven't found anything cooler than being a dad, and I'm right in the middle of doing what we tell all of our kids to do, just to chase your passion and live it every day.
That's awesome. You said you enjoy being a dad. How many kids do you have?
I got 2 kids.
How old are they?
I got a 14 and a 2.5-year-old.
Whoa. Wow.
Just about the most beautiful and stunning 14-year-old daughter, and an absolute monster of a 2-year-old.
Perfect.
Congrats,
mesh.
man.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
awesome.
Well,
Congrats.
it's
That's
not
cool,
me.
though.
It's I got a ridiculously hot wife that wrangles the kids and basically tells me when and where to be.
And you just show up.
Absolutely.
Great. I will be there. You tell me what to do.
Hey, I'm standing on the shoulder of giants for sure.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good thing to do. I am
Totally.
also my wife is way out of my league in literally every category, so convincing her to stay is pretty much my full-time job.
Hey, it's a cool position to be in, knowing that you're batting out of your league.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, awesome, man. Super pumped to have you here. This is what I've been wanting to do for a long time, since the beginning. So having you in, especially after the month that we've just had, not only us, but organizations nationwide are, passionate about October being their Cancer Awareness Month. A lot of good people spend money, volunteer with things, bring awareness to a lot of good things. So finishing up October with this seems like the perfect time to get talking. Before we get into that, I do want to talk a little bit about your jiu-jitsu life. Just tell me, where'd you get your start and why?
Totally. I grew up in the era that about the coolest thing was Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. So grew up got a 4-stripe brown belt in Japanese karate.
Nice.
Absolutely loved it. Fell into some Muay Thai and trading under Pedro Sauer in Salt Lake.
Wow.
Yeah, and Nate Pett had introduced me to all of this stuff and just absolutely loved it. Moved back up here to Idaho and train at the base under Mitch Coach and BJ. And yeah, again, jack of many trades and master of none for sure. A lifetime blue belt, absolutely love it. It's everything from my therapy to my entertainment. I love it. You know, I met you about a year ago when I started jumping in on the Sunday free rolls at Combat Fitness, and man, it's everything. It's community. It's thoroughly exhilarating for the mind, the body.
For sure.
And then
For sure.
You just feel like an old man like we do right now. So
It takes its toll on the body, man. For the soul and the mind, there's nothing better.
Yeah, totally. So I just love it. I would say if anything I do in my life, I always just want some sort of structure, and that's what I've always fiended for my martial arts career. I've always just wanted more, and unfortunately, it's always been my second or third or fourth thing that's on my plate. So it hurts a little bit when, like today, Brad said something like, we trained this in class this week, or someone says something as they're doing it to you, and you just go, okay,
sure.
so it should have been there.
Yep.
It's pretty awesome for sure.
Absolutely. When they're doing something, they're like, "Do you remember when I showed you this?" And you're like, "Yeah, just get it over with."
Yeah. So I love it. Just about every chance I get, I try to grab my 14-year-old daughter and say, everybody needs to learn this. It's so important to know how to control yourself in heated situations, to be able to take someone's hands off of you and just control when violence happens.
Sure.
It's thoroughly important. And to be able to have such close quarters when you're trying to do such great things to people is extremely bonding.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And it's kind of it feeds right into the rest of my life, and that's where my whole kind of adult life has been, is creating communities and just trying to figure out what makes people tick and why do they keep coming back. Because the way I feel right now, I wouldn't think that anybody would want to come back to those rounds we did, but for sure I would love to tomorrow.
It's funny because on one hand, I feel like jiu-jitsu is for everybody, and on the other hand, I feel like jiu-jitsu is for the select few. And I only say that because of the traditional blue belt curse. I don't understand how anybody starts, falls in love with it, gets to the point of blue belt, and then just turns and never comes back. That is the craziest thing in the world to me. And so I always think, like, man, it's for everybody. You've already fallen in love. Like, where are you going?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to think, like, well, is it not for everyone, maybe?
Yeah. So many distractions, right?
True.
There's so many things. Right now I have a sign up on my refrigerator. It's in my bathroom at home. Gary Vay, and it says, "Oh, you had time for it. You just chose something else." And it's something that I'm so bad at. It's my first excuse is I don't have time for things, or I'm busy.
Wise words. I like that.
Oh my gosh, man, we make time for what's priorities to us, and to reevaluate that of going, well, I guess jiu-jitsu's not that important to me, and that's a hard tough to swallow. I made a little meme on my phone and posted it on Instagram. Just that blue belt is the black belt of quitters.
True that.
And gosh, that speaks to me like no other. It for sure makes me easily pack the car and try to arrange some babysitters for the training.
Gotta get in. Gotta get in. It's good that I appreciate your passion for it.
Totally. No, I always love picking you out whenever there's an open round. I love rolling with you.
Well, I'm like the old broken wildebeest. So that's what happens in a pack, is the weak broken one
that's right.
gets pulled out, and they're like, yeah, this will be my round off.
Oh, whatever. No, it's always fun. You keep me on my toes. Sure.
I love rolling with you every week. I'm glad that you're there. How'd you get hooked up with coming to our free rolls anyway? Just out of curiosity.
It's interesting, right? Yeah, it's so weird by depending on which conversation you're in. Gym hoppers are not that highly seen, but so being involved with camp, there was a volunteer that came up, and he told me about your gym, and I said, for sure, I know about it. I love it. I love those people there. And he just started saying, hey, well, we have Sunday rolls. Why don't you come with me? And so he brought me in. And, as bad as it sounds, Sunday was the one day that my wife had off all week. So it was for sure the day that I said, I'm busy from noon to 2 every Sunday. So,
Sure.
As wild as it was, 1, 2, 3, and gosh, I've been coming on Sundays for a year now,
Yeah.
which is pretty amazing. The only thing I have is it's everything in athletics with me. Just a hustling sense of I'm for sure going to be better than I was last time I was on here, and I'm gonna thank everybody for being here. So that community accepted me pretty great, and after going through what we went through today, having my tribes collide was pretty rad to see, and something that I really didn't actually digest until we got home this afternoon of what we went to. So I can't wait to talk about that. But so Gunn, who's a buddy of ours, is just an absolute beautiful human once you get to know him. And so he came up to camp, and he's been coming up there and volunteering with me.
That's awesome.
With us, and then he brought me along to his Sunday rolls, and it's just kind of fed from there.
He's a good dude. He's also one of my favorite training partners. I love Gunn.
Yeah, for sure. It's tricky with that key lock.
Yeah.
I roll with him every time. That's all I say is not a key lock today.
No key locks this round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fun for sure.
Great guy to roll with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you say you're a master of jack of all trades, master of none. I know you've got your hand in a lot of different pots and doing a lot of good stuff. The main reason I wanted to get you on was to talk about what you do for work. Tell me, Jason works for Camp Rainbow Gold.
Mm-hmm.
He's the program manager.
Yep.
Tell me about Camp Rainbow Gold.
It's pretty.
What is it?
Pretty amazing. We are an oncology organization here in Idaho, and we provide all sorts of empowering experiences for families with children with cancer going through the whole process here in Idaho, and it's a pretty amazing thing. Really, what we are is we're a conduit between a specific demographic of just some struggling people here in Idaho, and we connect our beautiful community with them. We're a community-ran organization, and the great part is we started 30 years ago under the American Cancer Society umbrella as one of their quality of life programs. And so just like they used to give prostheses and wigs and travel cards away, we were the summer camps. And so there was 40 plus programs in the country, and it's pretty amazing and humbling at the same time. It's something that, everybody has those cliches of awesome, but it truly is. It's something that just pulls awe in every direction of just seeing what our community is willing to do when things are needed. And that's been what camp has been. We're being volunteer ran. It's beautiful. There's just a very small handful of us in the office. There's 7 of us, and we coordinate volunteers. And really all we do is we say there's some pretty rad families that really need some love, and we set the table and stage, and we point volunteers in that direction. And we're for sure most known for our summer camps. We have 5 camps, and it's the great thing that sets us apart. We started as a one week summer camp, and we just blossomed from there. Over the years, there's been neat assessments by our volunteers looking at our families of saying, it's not just the survivors that need the love and support and connection. It's also the rest of the family. So we expanded and blossomed into just about everything that you can possibly think of. Like, Yeah, I mean, again, this might be a 4-hour podcast of me talking, but you want to be connected to something positive. You want to be seen. I mean, it's what we're all here for. It's one of those human base connections that we need. We need to be able to say, I'm here, and you see me, and I'm here with you. And that's what camp is. Never knew the necessity or how important it was for me. It changed me so fundamentally. It's weird to even say. As a man, to learn so much from kids over the last 14 years, it's astounding to make me easily say that I wasted the first half of my life paying attention to the wrong things, overlooking the pure beauty that's around us every single day, and just speaking your mind. Pretty beat up right now. We lost a pretty amazing volunteer this week. We spent last weekend with him up at family camp, and he's given almost 20 years to our program. And I mean, I'm a program manager. I mean, really, all I do is I coordinate a wave of love to a place that absolutely needs it. And I get this broken sense of reality where I get to see 300 plus volunteers each year that we utilize to run our programs, doing the absolute most needed and beautiful things for each other, showing up for each other. And I just get this twisted sense of reality that that's the world that I live in. I get to wake up every day and leave my family and spend my time on making people feel valued, seen, connected, and thoroughly spending your time on what matters, telling people how you feel, telling people that you're there for them. I mean, really, what we do is we're palliative care. We don't cure cancer, but there's so much outside of the doctor's visits, scans, and chemo treatments, radiation. There's so much that's needed that gets them from the doctor's appointments to the next one. And that connection is pretty amazing. It's probably the greatest and best part of our program. Is for sure it's not the 7 of us in the office. It is every beautiful volunteer that decides to put their fingerprint on our program. It's what connected us. There's so many people in SBG right now that are giving to our program. This past week, when we were up at family camp, we had a whole team of beautiful members of SBG that came up and did a women's self-defense class for the moms and daughters at our family camp. And it's powerful, man. It's pretty messed up. I have a hard time compartmentalizing it right now, of trying to put why I'm so absolutely beat up over an 84-year-old neurosurgeon, archery specialist that gave his program night in and night out, year in and year out to our program, and he passed away this past week. And the overflowing of love and comments on the social media platforms from our campers is just, it's amazing, man. I heard our volunteers speak of it a few years back, that we go through each day making decisions, and we hope that they're right. We have this knowledge and this base and this direction we're heading, that we make decisions every day hoping that they're the right ones. And 14 years ago and all the way to now, I just know that my decision to be involved with camp is just inherently right. There's not a minute that I can spend on this program that is not absolutely worth it. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to wrangle, getting kicked in the teeth for a desk job. We go through celebrations and absolute heartbreaks in our office that are from remissions to relapses, and that's on a weekly basis. My family came up to this last family camp, and it was pretty amazing. I think about how hard it is to try to feed 4 mouths on a nonprofit budget. And I get completely stressed out, and then I bring my family up to our family camp where we had 12 families up there, 24 volunteers, so just over 100 people, and my family got to participate in all of this stuff. And to watch them doe over just absolutely love on my family. I just can't think of another thing that I can show my family of what is important than showing up for other people and doing the hard thing of not fixing things, of just saying, let's figure it out. And that's kind of what camp is. I mean, it's cool. It's weird. It's weird to learn so much stuff from kids. Again, you shouldn't have gave the microphone to a camp guy. That's what we do. We talk about our programs because we believe in them so much. We
want to hear about them.
Our whole thing is love, hope, and fun. And when you're going through the struggle, that's what's important. Our founder, Dave McCluskey, who started this whole program 35 years ago, he took 14 kids up to McCall on an overnight camping trip because he heard his patients talking in the hospital about their friends and siblings going to camp, and they just wanted to do it so bad. So he reached out to a friend, Vicky Funioli, who still to this day comes up to camp with us. 30 years ago, wrote the first grant, and he took people up. And I tell that story just to say, it's powerful. For someone to give 35 years to a program is pretty ridiculous. And to know the way he describes our camp is love made visible. And it sets this utopic feeling that's so awkward for people to jump into, because it's just so weird for people to be in your bubble and for people to go, I care about you. Tell me about you. What's going on? How are you doing? What are you excited about? To be genuinely interested in you is a very weird thing, because we do small talk every day. But to not have the firemen, I just heard my phone, and I'm sorry guys, I heard a notification. To not be on-call firemen, and to actually have time set aside that it's this right here, right? It's the conversations where they're not going to be interrupted, where you can actually unpack some things and say, what's going on? And let's figure it out. It's a pretty crazy thing to do for each other, which is the hidden side of service. I didn't volunteer growing up. I actually volunteered a lot, but I was more voluntold. It was when people signed me up for things, or people told me where to be, and I was happy to do it. But I mean, that's not something that I seeked out. So, it took me to be an adult where I started hearing about other rad things, and there's just so much going on in our community. I signed my daughter up for a hike. We hiked Table Rock 3 weeks ago, and we literally carried disabled people up Table Rock so that they can have that experience. It's called Limitless. It's a beautiful organization, and is what was wild is it resonated with me of going, man, I'm in this nonprofit world for sure, but I didn't know about this. And I even knew about them for years ago, but I didn't know it was happening. And there's so many needs in our community, and so many ways that not only can you learn so much from, but you can give back and change people's lives in such simple ways of just showing up. And all it really takes is just working out your schedule of saying, when do I have time? And even if it's an hour, a day, a week, of just saying, I'm here, and I'm here to make a difference. And it's a very cool thing. So, I don't know. I got down a rabbit hole for sure. We're a summer camp program. We blossomed out, and it's a thing that sets us apart from any other oncology program in America. There's no limitation for what people should be involved with this program, with how many collateral damage things that happen and bubble up after treatments, years, from fertility issues to hearing to just learning disabilities that people just have no idea what happens. To be able to connect that community and say there's no limit to when you're going to be in this, because it's so important for this family, just like we had last week up at camp. It's so important for a family to sit down that is just starting this path with their eyes wide open, saying, how the fuck do we get through this? Mm-hmm. To another family that's been in remission for 10 years saying, just keep it going, just keep the ball rolling, you got this, we've been there. And that voice is so important. We have kids, 14 years ago, I thought I was coming up to a summer camp with a bunch of anemic, bald kids and taking a bunch of pictures, and it's just taken over my life. It's made me a better father. It's made me a better brother, husband. Just all of the above. I obviously, if you haven't noticed this, words of affirmation are my love language. I try to tell every single person what I think and feel about them. My friend Doc, who passed away this past week, I spent the last 14 years with him, and he led our archery program. So I spent a lot of time meeting with him, and it's a pretty amazing thing to be connected to so many beautiful people. You know, we toggle from the super fun stuff like our summer camps that everyone knows about to the hard-hitting stuff that really means stuff like what's the next step in life. It's the cool part. You know, our program has blossomed over the last 14 years, where I've had a front row seat to watch it. We blossomed from that one camp to a family camp to provide the services for everybody, to then saying the numbers and stories of what siblings go through and what they have to watch their brothers and sisters is so riddling that they're 2 to 3 times more likely for suicide and drug abuse and pregnancy.
And these are the siblings?
And the siblings. They're the ones that, have no disease, but have their lives so absolutely disrupted that connection and just place in life to where they can see other kids that are going through what they've been through is so thoroughly needed. And a beautiful part. It's one that's grabbed my heart from this program. We have a waiting list that's around the window to get into our sibling programs. It is absolutely needed, and just for them to say, "Wow, you know, it's crazy," and whether their life was completely disrupted, cancer is an ugly thing, but it's really not the scariest thing. It's the simple germs. You know, when there's a child that doesn't have an immune system going through treatment trying to beat cancer, you know, it is the very simple things of right now, flu season. It's pneumonia. It's the weird random stuff that completely derails the siblings. You know, outside of their mom and dad probably not being there for living in hospitals or having their family take care of, you know, someone outside of the state. It's not having any of your friends being able to come over to your house. It's not having funds or time to do the normal things. And so to have a connection for them, our sibling program is a pretty amazing thing, and it's one of the things that is absolutely most needed and totally overlooked, right?
Sure.
I know my siblings. I have 3 of them, and they're pretty amazing. And I would be absolutely shattered if they were fighting for their lives. So it's beautiful. We sat up there and just dreamt about camp, of going, this magical feeling that we get for this 1 week out of the year. How do we walk away and have to wait a full year? Like, what is that? If connection and love and support is going to be anything, it needs to be consistent and frequent. It needs to be something that someone can look forward to. Something that people not only get a connection and get that cup filled, but it's also something that's not so far out that it's just right around the corner. Something to look forward to, which is what will get you to that next goal. It's the small things in between. So we have a teen support group, which is pretty rad. If you say support group to any teenager, they would run out of the room so fast. And we tried to do those horrible support groups like you've seen in every movie for years and failed. And we went back to the drawing board and we just went, why does things just absolutely work up at camp, and why are we failing here? And we reevaluated, reassessed, and we hid the healing inside of activities. So we work with social workers and we pick themes, topics, whatever it is, whether it's fear or just all of the absolute crazy emotions that kids go through, and we hide them into simple activities. And those simple activities are what allow their peers to talk to them about what is on their plate. And so we have a monthly support group that keeps these kids connected to our college scholarship program, which is phenomenal. We give $60,000 to $70,000 away for these kids to apply for, to seek any sort of secondary education. And what that means is that could be a state school, a JC, it could be any vocational school. Honestly, what it takes, we're here for the kids to get a leg up and to get that next step going. It's interesting, right? We have family events and all of the above, but we're most known for our summer camps. But really, it's that's just one side of it. Every single volunteer that's in our program, you just go home feeling like you stole from the organization. That kind of perspective taking and absolute reset button on priorities is so profound and earth-shattering that you just feel so grateful for just being involved or having an opportunity to do the things that we do, which is crazy, right? I mean, I'm an adult. I've learned so much from kids that is just mind-boggling. It's silly, right?
You would
Not
never
really.
think.
Yeah, but not really though. I mean, when I think anybody at any age can translate emotion.
That's true.
Especially if they're going through something that you're not familiar with in like in a personal way, like maybe you've never had cancer or you never had a loved one who's been diagnosed with cancer. But I think regardless of the age of somebody who gets cancer, they're able to convey that emotionally to anybody, and you can see the hurt and the struggle, but they find a way to stay happy, people like you. I do have a question. When you guys finish up camp, do you feel like there's some sort of a depression that might set in because you're at an all-time high
It's funny you
when
say
you're
that.
helping people?
It's actually funny you say that. We do multiple talks from our volunteers when we're up at camp just to try to prepare them for the roller coaster ride of emotion that we go through up at camp. We try to tell them to stay connected to each other, for that just emotional connection that they have with each other. It's hard to articulate to other family members that haven't experienced it. But man, for sure, absolutely. I would say, if anything, to me, it's apathy. Whenever I come home and my life's dedicated in the summer, it's what I blame my BJJ schedule on in the summer, because I don't have time because of the camps. It's an apathy for all things bullshit. I will come home and be on this absolute high, and I will be in the store or at the gas station and just hear someone either being completely impatient or totally neglectful for the very simple things in life, where I just kind of want to shake them and just say, you need to pay attention to the important things. So it's an experience for sure. Definitely a high one, with absolute lows. Like it ebbs and flows back and forth. Youth development's a funny thing. I needed someone when I was young. I looked for connection through sports and church groups and all sorts of social functions, and the ones I sought out were cool.
For sure.
Well, damn it, I wasn't cool at anything growing up. I mean, I know you guys want to hear about my cross-country career, but man, I was never good at cool stuff.
So cool, man.
So cool, right?
Yeah, when you're done, I'll tell you about being in band. So
yeah, I always wanted to be connected to that cool thing.
Sure.
And so it's what was wild.
It's pretty normal, I would say.
It's totally normal, and it took me until I was damn near in my 30s to realize that cool means something different to everybody else.
For sure. Absolutely.
And to be able to let your freak flag fly is a very crazy and exhilarating experience, for sure.
It's got to feel just natural and free in many ways. You're not confined by the expectations of cool or whatever. When you can free yourself from those, as you so often do.
Gosh,
How liberating is that?
It's one thing that I don't have to worry about. No one comes to me for fashion advice. 9 times out of 10, I have my nails painted and I have something silly on from, the mustache or anything else. It's a pretty ice-breaking thing for me,
Sure.
as a male who has tattoos, to sit down with kids. The mustache and something silly is not only for them, but it's for me too. It is a constant reminder that things aren't so serious, and there are a lot of beautiful things around that we need to pay attention to. So if it's not my silly bracelets or my nails or anything else ridiculous that I'm doing, I
feel like the message that you're sending oftentimes is, it's not this is cool or that's cool. It's you're cool.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you are, you're cool. Whatever you are, you're cool. Can all be individuals, have fun, do goofy things, do whatever, and you're cool. Not because you fit into this mold or expectation, but because you're you.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing your thing.
Totally.
What's cooler than that?
It would be so sad if we were all the same.
Oh man, heartbreaking.
And isn't that what you want? You just want to be the cool kid, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that we're so eclectic is what makes life special. And I mean, turning it back, it's what makes camp so special. My friend Doc, what would I have in common with a neurosurgeon?
Sure.
The fact that I've been able to spend so much time talking about our opinions on politics to just the necessity that kids learn how to focus on things. It's a very connecting thing of people that you would absolutely not have anything in common unless you actually sat down with them and said, tell me what you like, tell me what you're into, tell me what you're thinking about. And you actually see that we're not that different. We all kind of think the same kind of things. And
is there anybody, I mean, even as adults, is there anything that you want to hear from somebody more than that? Just, hey, tell me about what you like and what you do.
I'm interested.
It's like you have nieces and nephews, you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
you go to them and you just say, like, they're playing with a toy.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that, and then you'll listen to 45 minutes about the Transformers.
Totally.
But it's something they're passionate about and they love, and they're so glad that they got to express that, because it's hard when you love something and you want an opportunity to tell everybody how great it is, and that opportunity doesn't come. So for someone to do that, it means the world to, I think, anybody.
It's so important, to show up and like with your newly purchased beautiful masterpiece of art out there. It's all planting seeds of just saying, you can do this. People are interested. All you got to do is try, though. But if you don't try, it's probably not going to happen.
Do it. Keep going.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few things you mentioned that I kind of want to unpack a little bit. First of all, you've mentioned Doc a few times,
Mm-hmm.
and he was with your organization for a long time, an integral part of your organization. Can you tell me some stories about some times that he really stood out to you, and some things that you did that were memorable from his contributions?
Doc was an amazing man. So everything from singing Jodies with the boys, and that's kind of a big thing, is what was wild. Before he took over our archery program, he always signed up for our youngest boys' cabins. That man signed up for the hardest task on the list, and he was able to wrangle 8 to 10 6-year-olds like no other. He would talk them to sleep at night. He would make foot lockers for them to come and be prepared for camp, and he was a stellar human being. It's one of those things that you know when you meet someone that they're just genuine.
Definitely.
That was him. He talked about the little things the most. I think that's what I loved about him. There are the few people that you meet in life that the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And that was him. It was one of those things. As being a program manager, I had the utmost confidence in him that everything was safe. I mean, he was so absolutely concerned with the most minute details of every piece of equipment with our program, and to care about something like that, it just speaks volumes of the man and the character that he was. I'm actually glad that you brought that up. I made you guys something.
Sweet.
I come bearing gifts.
Dude, you brought hats.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Stickers.
So these are something really special to not only our program but to me, and I'll let you guys take a look at those.
Thank you.
And for sure, these are what you call, it's a Turk knot. It's a paracord knot. It's very simple, man. It literally has about 30, probably less than 30 cents of material in it, and it's paracord that is tied in a Turk knot, and that Turk knot is then closed on itself around a marble.
And this is a slip knot, so that you
that's a slip knot, so you can open it up, so put it around your neck, and then wear it at any length that you guys want.
Dude, thank you.
These are fantastic.
These are pretty
For
sweet.
sure.
I'm not gonna lie, man. This is really
awesome.
cool.
It's something that has become a staple at our camp, and it says CRG to me. There's a marble inside of it, so if you push on it, don't give it to a toddler. That marble will pop out. But it's
Who made these?
I made them for you guys.
Awesome.
I made them for you guys, and I really wanted, when I was when I'm doing air quotes now, preparing, when I was washing my gi before I came in here, I was thinking, if I'm going to talk about camp, what am I going to talk about? And I thought about the staples of camp, and a love knot is something that is a thing that I love, and I learned how to make them from a friend of mine named Susie Lagulo. And Susie was a woman that couldn't have been more unique and marched to her own drum. She was in our art shack forever. She connected with our program through her daughter's diagnosis, and her and her husband continued to volunteer after her daughter passed away. And the love and care and time and patience that she gave to our kids in the art shack for years was something that resonated with me. I would go in and be in whatever position I was in that year, whether it was the photographer or on leadership or sitting at the desk that I sit in now. I would run into the art shack and I would say, please show me how to make a love knot again. Every single year I'd come up and she would have to reteach me, and she would laugh how I would fumble making them, and she'd go, no, and she would come back and she wouldn't do it for me. And that was one of the most frustrating things, is I just wanted her to just make me one so I could give it to one of my friends or one of the cool little campers that made me something. And she forced me to sit down and actually show me what the best thing about camp was, and it was just giving each other our time. And that was something I wanted to do for you guys. Is there's really nothing that I can give to you guys more than that, the 30 cents around your guys' neck and my time. And if we all do that for each other, I think we have everything that we possibly need.
For sure. Thank you so much.
It's about basically saying it's about the simple things. There's something that is about them, and for sure they're Turk knot, but up at camp we call them love knots. And
they're pretty sweet, man.
That's
I'm not
amazing.
gonna lie.
absolutely,
It's gonna be hung up here.
I
For
love
sure.
that.
Definitely.
Well, it's a funny thing that we find ourselves in, where, like I told you guys, I feel like I wasted the first half of my life, and everyone that I go to high school now, or high school with, when I see them now, I always apologize for the whatever dickhead I was. That I just wanted to say that a man should reinvent himself every 10 years, and over the last 14 I sure have. And with the experience that I have collected, I'm pretty happy where I am. It's a beautiful thing, for sure.
You've mentioned a few times the simple things seem to carry more weight than people might think. And there's two phrases you shared with us today. Can you tell me what those are and expand on those a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's as simple as connecting with each other, right? when we join a team, we want the ultimate thing. We want the participation medal along with the MVP, and we want our friends to pick us up, and the end, slow clap. But in reality, really what we need is when we walk into a room, we want to just see someone that looks us in the eye and just goes, I see you. When we had our son, he was born with craniosynostosis. And what that means is he was born with a solid skull. So all of his soft spots were solid. So we took him in for his 2-month check, and really we just thought we were going in for them to give us the thumbs up, everything's good. And I mean, he was funny looking. I mean, he's my kid, but on top of it, every baby's kind of funny looking. They're either ridiculously cute or they're just like alien babies.
They're little old people.
For sure. Just totally old person, right? So we thought we were just going in for a checkup, and our doctor really just said, yeah, something looks like we need to look into something. I'm gonna see if you guys can't get an appointment for a neurosurgeon. And so we kind of went, okay, we don't know what that means, but okay. And we finished the visit, and we're walking out, and they basically say they're ready for you. And we kind of went, oh, you mean right now?
Wow.
Like, not set an appointment, go see him right now. So we walked across the street for St. Luke's, and within minutes, I mean, within an hour from being at his house to standing in a neurosurgeon's office, he's telling me they don't have time on this Monday, but next Monday they're going to do surgery on a skull. And man,
is this common?
Is what's wild is it is fairly common. It's not a huge thing, and I actually forget the number, but I want to say that like 1 in 25 babies have it. So it's a fairly common thing, and that's actually the one thing that kept me going, is that they've been here before. This isn't a road that they're just now traveling down.
Sure.
And so within an hour, man, I mean, I just had questions like, do you want to take an x-ray? Do you want to do like a little more thorough look? And he just kind of chuckled and said, this needs to be done. And so fast forward a week and a half, Bridge and I were freaking out. We take our little baby, and they take his skull out, take it apart, and put it back in like a puzzle. Which is just an absolute
you just got to be beside yourself.
It is earth-shattering, man. Like to be a dad, to not only look at your kids, but to look at your wife, and to not have control over things. I mean, that's the role we play. We're fixers. I'm for sure a fixer. Tell me what's going on. I want to fix it.
For sure.
And to give that to someone is a pretty crazy experience. And being in the world that I'm in, man, I don't walk 50 yards in St. Luke's without seeing people I love, and to be on the other side of that, not visiting somebody but staying in the PICU for a week, that's a hard-hitting thing. I can remember just walking around the halls, just waiting for someone to look me in the eye, and that's what no one does in the hospital. People don't want to be rude. People have no idea why you're there, but man, the families that are living there, they just want to be seen. They want to be validated, and they just want people to look them in the eye and say, you got this. And it was something that I saw from my own experience, that I pulled from the absolute love and beauty that we were shown from St. Luke's and their nursing staff and doctors. But it's all I needed. I went home after a week of being in the hospital, and just knowing that no one gave that to me from our community, but every person in the staff, that's what they did. They looked at you and they go, hey, how's it going? Hey, good job. Hey, hi. Just any of that stuff. And that's what resonated me the most, is I didn't need my problems fixed, because not many people can. But the fact that people just get in your face and just say hi, whether you want to or not. It is, I heard Joe Rogan talking about it. It's the oh gosh, when you have too many people, it's the numbers game, right? It is. There's just absolutely too many people to care about. And Boise's not. I grew up in Las Vegas. There's too many people there. There's not too many people in Boise. You know, wherever you go, you see someone you know. It's a 2 degrees separation in Boise, which is kind of a fun and scary thing, right? Mm-hmm. That's the last thing you want to do is have a bad certain interaction with someone. Side note, I absolutely love Black Mirror. Do you guys like Black Mirror?
Oh, I haven't really seen the show, but I've seen a couple episodes.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Don't get me started. All right. It's a pretty amazing show, and one of their episodes is a standalone show where they talk about personal ratings, like personal Yelp ratings. So I'd see you and I'd see what your ratings are. It's a pretty wild, and
they have that. They have like a ratepeople.com basically, where you can go and you can rate people.
Yeah, that was the one where like those two ladies did it for dates, like they were rating their dates, and then it became like an everyone sort of thing, and they got a lot of backlash for it. But they were like, I mean, you do it with Yelp or whatever else. Why not know what you're getting into when you're meeting somebody?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They should rate you
which
on
is
dates.
Terrifying.
Totally. But if you suck at dating, everybody should. If I buy a terrible product on Amazon, I'd probably be like, yo, dude, don't buy that.
Right.
It sucks. Just like, dude, don't date that chick. She's crazy.
Like, oh, yeah. No, it's needed. For sure, I'm so happy it's here. I'm so glad it wasn't there when I was dating. Like, that's the last thing you need is to be rated.
True, but at the same time, it would be nice to be forewarned if somebody's like a psycho.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you don't get that because you get whatever they're going to present to you at the beginning.
That's true.
You know,
it's like
it's
makeup.
Only later on. And us too. Like we're guilty of it too. I put on my best everything in the world to date my wife,
right?
And then once we got married, I was like,
"It's tricky, right?
Tricked you. You're stuck now."
How long do you wait until you start leaving your socks on the floor?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's tough.
Going back a little bit. You mentioned we were talking about after camp ends and in between camps. Tell me a little bit more about what you're doing in between camps to keep things going and keep taking care of people.
Totally, for sure. So we have our camps, and our camps are spread throughout the calendar. So that's really what we do is when we come home and reset, we look at the calendar and see where we're heavy and where we're light. So we have 5 camps. We have our 2 family camps, which are the spectrum of the summers, one in June and one in October, and then our 3 youth camps in July. And then when we come home, like I am now we are just knee deep in our year-round programs. We have 17 kids on scholarship right now that
awesome.
We're watching, helping, cheering on, and rooting on, getting through school. We have our teen support group that meets every single month. And we have committees upon committees of volunteers that are looking into what's the next program, where's the most need, and just fine-tuning all of our programs and basically the fever that's behind Camp Rainbow Gold. It's something that we've dreamt about for years of just saying, we lease a campground, so we're a rental group when we have our camps. So the campground that we lease is up in Ketchum, the Wood River Valley. So whenever we come home, we always just dreamt of, gosh, I wish we were known the way we are up in the Wood River Valley down here in the Treasure Valley. I wish that people can see the need. There's 116 kids newly diagnosed in Idaho alone. So the wild part of that is that's brand new. So those aren't even the kids that are hitting our program. Our program is meant for people that have taken that first breath after they're diagnosed. They're not thinking about a summer camp program when they get hit. So it's the kids that are in treatment. It's the kids that are coming off treatment. It's the kids that have relapsed or in remission. It's ground building. We work with our volunteers throughout the year. And, just like today, it is, I would easily say 70 to 80 different events that are done on part for us to keep our machine rolling for all of our programs to come at our families at no cost. It just takes a mountain of effort, whether it's volunteers giving their time or donors, like the $3,000 that we raised today. We raised $3,300 at Combat Fitness.
Heck yeah.
Which is
It's awesome.
Which
Nice
is
work, family.
massive. That is a massive thing. That's multiple. That pays for multiple kids to go to camp. It pays for multiple families to go to one of our programs. What it does is it provides this opportunity for kids to be validated that is absolutely priceless. It's something like if you think about what could you give a child that's better than validation. I mean, it's huge. I mean, we have kids right now that are going through school because of pink belts that are showing up when it really matters, and that's a pretty powerful thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad to hear that so much money was raised. Was that throughout the whole month, or was that?
That was throughout the whole month.
That's fantastic.
With all of the merchandise that was sold, all of the raffle tickets, and just pure donations today. I don't have a head count.
Sure.
I was in and out of rounds. I tried to do it twice, and I knew that there were people over still getting ready or getting drinks, and I stopped at 45 plus. So I knew that there was 50 plus people there on the mats there to support it. And man, it just makes you so proud, right? Like if you're going to be connected to something, you want to be connected to something that when it really matters, people show up.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And to be able to see so many affiliations on the same mat, it's a pretty powerful thing. Definitely the team that Jesse and Brad and all the other coaches that are leading the pace over there. It's a pretty rad thing.
Yeah, it's really an amazing thing. And what Jason's talking about was we did this last year as well. We sold pink belts for jiu-jitsu. We sold pink hand wraps for the striking arts. And this year we added the pink shirts as well. We didn't have that last year. And this is something that SBG does worldwide, all the organizations through October. And last year we raised collectively over $33,000. And each camp, or each gym gets to decide kind of what to do with that money. We obviously partnered with you and your organization this year to do that, and we sold pink belts all month long, hand wraps, shirts. We were pushing them, and then today we kind of had a big summit, and everybody came in. There were donations. We invited the whole valley, anybody from any school that wanted to show up and roll and make a donation. Had a raffle, gave away a lot of really cool stuff, and man, it's really, really great to see two very, very unique communities come together like that.
For sure.
And it's interesting because it's sort of this dichotomy of what we do on the mats, because we're all there today to donate resources, finances, whatever, to help your organization. We are also there to kill our best friends.
Right.
I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. I don't think you would normally think of a mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu gym as the first place that's going to spend an entire month getting money to take care of kids and families afflicted by cancer. So,
no, for sure.
For anybody who thinks it's a bunch of meatheads, man, I'm not entirely sure that's accurate all the time.
No, for sure.
And it was great to see today. It was a huge event. And I'm pumped to hear how much we raised, and I'm sure that's not the end of either the donations or the volunteers or anything else that's going to keep coming from this. Mm-hmm. That's a great thing. Proud to be a part of it.
I've never ceased to be amazed by what our community is willing to do. And really what it takes is a gym like that to say, this is what's needed and this is what we're going to do. And it just takes that little spark and conduit of saying, hey guys, run this way. And that's what's needed. And it completely happened. I kept pulling back from the rounds every time the bell would ring to tie my belt, and just was looking around, and man, there wasn't an open spot on the mats, and it's a pretty amazing thing for sure.
Nope, man, there were so many pink belts.
Mm-hmm.
So many pink belts.
How awesome, right?
That was great to see.
Mm-hmm.
last year we did this at the same time. We had our nationwide camp, and we had well over 100 people, and all from other SBG gyms, and it was all pink belts. Just everybody. You didn't have any idea what belt somebody was at all, other than they were all part of this.
Yeah.
Great thing, helping out their respective charities by buying and wearing their pink belts. It's pretty cool to see.
It's very cool. For sure. Idaho does one thing that I love. I believe it's on May 1st, where it's Idaho Gives. It's where everybody chooses their own personal passion project of nonprofits, and whether it's $1 or whatever you want to give, it's support your nonprofit. And it's a pretty ridiculous fundraising day for Idaho, where I want to say it was over $1 million. I know it was for sure over $1 million, but
Dang.
just $1 million was given away to local nonprofits. So
Amazing.
There's people that want to help, for sure.
Absolutely. It's great to see. Those are the days that you're proud to be part of something.
Yeah,
that's
for
for
sure.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
We talk a lot about the value of money being donated. What's the value of a volunteer?
It's a great question. What does it mean to have a positive role model? Someone that plants the seeds and not only allows you to be seen like what we've been talking about, but from our side, it's priceless as well. To know the program that we operate on, we're easily a huge organization that it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars if we were to pay our volunteers to come up and do the things that our volunteers do. For one person, it's easily thousands upon thousands of dollars that they give in their time to come up and be a part of our program. So to give that, it's easily from a massive dollar amount to absolutely priceless. It's kind of the cool part about our program, though, too. I mean, when you jump in, there's everyone from gun to Doc, my neurosurgeon buddy I've been telling you about. It's such an eclectic group that, when we come up and we train our volunteers, we just say, these are the rules on how to keep the kids safe. Here are great ways to connect with them. And outside of that, be you. Who I would connect with would be completely different than who you two would connect with. So we want you guys to not fit the cookie cutter mold and come up and just spread your love and passion the way Doc did for the last 20 years in our program, of just showing kids that you can do hard things. And if you try something new, you just might have a different expectation than what you thought you have. It's priceless. I needed someone like that, man. You know what my coaches did to me? They yelled at me.
Same.
They absolutely yelled at me.
Same.
I had one great coach, and when I sit back and think about the legends in my life, every one of them are coaches. Every one of them are people that weren't inside of my circle that I looked up to that said, this is under your control. Whatever you want to do, it's yours. I drank that Kool-Aid, and it was all just beautiful mentors in my life.
Amazing.
It's a pretty heavy and weird thing to know that we have that power too, right?
For
just
sure.
The random things that we say to kids, whether it's a joke or things that we're just trying to connect to them with, they go back and think about those things.
Mm-hmm.
It's heavy,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's you make an excellent point. I just in retrospect can think of when I was a kid, looking up to the people that I idolized or mentors in one way or another.
Giants.
And just everything they said, I just would hang on to every word, and good or bad or otherwise, it had a lot of weight to it.
Oh man!
And to think that I'm in that position now where you can affect somebody,
Mm-hmm.
the kids, in that way. That's why I don't talk to the kids that are gym. I'm afraid I'm going to say the worst thing in the world.
Hell
I
yeah.
don't want to be the bad
It's
influence.
like, hey, what time is it? Yeah.
The most disappointing thing I've
Ugh.
ever experienced when I hit
Kill
40
me.
was that 40-year-olds don't have it figured out.
In what world are you 40?
Oh my gosh, I know, right? So I'm for sure an old man. I've been around the block. It just shattered me thinking that 40-year-olds don't have it figured out. They don't have the rule book. They don't have the cheat codes. and going, okay, so they're faking it just like every other kid. They're doing what they know works and from their experiences. And I looked at all the mentors in my life of them being the standard. And so, when I hit 25, when I hit 30, when I hit 35, when I hit 40, I went, okay, I don't know if this is ever going to happen, but I get this,
I still don't know.
This clipboard that I've been waiting for that I can make all the plays off of. And, that's, it plays into everything else that I just see that's so crucial is it doesn't matter if you have the answers, if you're willing to find them out.
Well, whatever path you've been on has definitely led you to some good things. How did you get hooked up with Camp Rainbow Gold? It sounded earlier when you were talking about it that before your connection with these guys, you're a pretty average dude, kind of doing your own thing, looking out for yourself, and you decided to get involved and not knowing what to expect. And ever since then, it sounds like, holy cow, it's taken over your world, which is fantastic. How'd that start?
Totally, yeah, it was court ordered. So the judge, no, just kidding. Nah, I did just a completely uncommon story. Self-employed at a high school, ran a commercial cleaning service, and had a few friends that were connected to a program. And really, that's what I needed. I needed someone to say, "Hey, we need help." And so I tried to get in 2005, and all we needed was 60 volunteers that year, and it was filled up super fast. So I jumped in on the year-round programs, and just the next opportunity that jumped up, I've always had my camera with me, whether it was a disposable or film camera to a video camera to now, my Samsung Note takes ridiculous photos. The only thing I take my DSLR out for is basically jiu-jitsu or my daughter. It's wild, but I've always been into taking photos, so I jumped in with Kelly Knopp, a buddy of mine, and we did the camp videos for a few years. So just running around, capturing all of the absolute magic up at camp, and producing a video for the kids to watch on the last day. That was my first experience, and then for sure I was coming back the next year, and then they asked me to be on leadership. For sure, I want to be on leadership.
It take any convincing?
None, not at all. It was one of those things that was inherently right. It was just one of those. Yeah, it didn't matter if we were doing a service project, shoveling manure, or we were doing the most absolute beautiful thing. It was what I wanted to do, and I had a business. It was self-sufficient. It was running, and the program manager, back when we were part of the American Cancer Society, she joined the reserves and had to go do her 2 months of that kind of boot camp, and just in the right place at the right time, which I say that because it just transformed my life so completely that they said, "Hey, we need a temp for 2 months. Are you interested?" And I went, "Yeah, absolutely. My business runs itself. I can for sure give some time to a program that I already love." And fast forward those 2 months, she's not coming back. Yeah, of course I want to stay. I'll figure out how to run my business and do this. And just slowly over the last 14 years, it's just taken over just a little bit of my life, and a little bit more and a little bit more. And it's worked its way into I used to be the guy that says watch this, and now I'm the guy that nerfs the world. It's extremely I love to define my job that I take super fragile kids up into remote settings without their parents and make them live with complete strangers and be uncomfortable while doing it. And that's exactly what we do. So, you will absolutely see my son thrown up in the air and caught, and we love it. But when it comes to taking care of other people's kids, it's a completely different path. So, it's something that it's slowly captivated my life. That started as, yeah, for sure, I'll come take pictures with you, to something that is so wild. I put my daughter to bed almost every night to camp videos. It was her favorite thing after books, that she wanted to watch a camp video. So it's so ingrained into my life and her life that it's kind of us.
Did you have any idea this is the path once you got started? Do you think it was maybe, I'll go check it out, or now here you are?
None. It was awkward to be seen. It was awkward. You know what's funny is I love to look at the photos of me up at my first camp, because I didn't have tattoos. You know, I didn't have this mustache. I was Jason from a different life. You know, still me, but just contained. No, I would have had no idea, and I think that's kind of the ones that that actually surprise you and mean the most, of things that you thought were one thing and turn into something that's completely different.
Well, clearly, as much as the kids and families have gotten out of it, it's obvious to see that it has affected you greatly, and you've got so much out of it as well for yourself. Fair to say?
It's a weird position to be in, man. I've been in scenarios that I have absolutely know what the right play is. I've been in rooms where kids have kicked their parents out before their surgery, so I'm the last one that talks to them. I've had conversations from ambulance from children. I've had kids ask me what terminal means because their parents won't explain it to them, and they keep hearing it said over and over in their doctor's appointments. I've stared at the walls for many hours in my office. It's one of the beautiful parts about everyone involved with our program is not the normal bad day at work is not our normal bad day, and there's a lot of things that are hard to swallow. And it's a very weird and awkward position to know that we sign up every day to get kicked in the teeth, and every part of it's worth it. The amount of compassion and vulnerability are starting to bubble to the top of the things that Bridget and I talk about. What do we want to teach our kids when we grow up? Like, if they learn one thing from us, what is it going to be? And grit always stands up, you know, right up there for sure. They need to have grit, but being vulnerable is so hard. It is like one of the hardest things to stand on the line and say, here I am. And signing up to get hurt's one of them.
The highs and lows, I can't imagine.
It's that old adage, right? Would you rather love? Oh no, what is it? Would you rather love and loss or not love at all? Mm-hmm. So it's one of those things of, man, I have genuinely taken interest in thousands of people in the last 14 years, and I am a greater person for it. Which is just weird, right? All I do is run a summer camp. Just children's program.
It's not like any other summer camp.
Man, it's so silly though. Like when we sit down and talk about our programmings and the intentional process that we do, everybody needs that. Everybody needs their self-narratives fixed. I'm a dick to myself. If you guys heard the way I talk, no one would listen. But it motivates me. And the things that we teach our kids of disrupting those self-narratives, or just the very simple thing of trying. Just trying. It's weird. It's one of those things that we teach our volunteers to teach the kids, but the volunteers are either being reminded or taught again, you know, what the important things are.
Amazing, man. You talk about grit. I mean, you've definitely got to have a lot to deal with what you deal with. It makes just everybody else's problems sound like such bullshit. You know, it's like you said. Yeah, your bad day is a lot different from ours, and man, I feel like I could never complain again.
Your good day is like a bad day for most people.
My goodness.
But you know, I mean, it goes back and forth from those relapse to remission calls. So it's one of those things that the shadows prove that there's sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
So I mean, it's what keeps us going in the dark times, and it's what makes us absolutely celebrate in the high times.
You just came back from camp. Mm-hmm. You had your last camp of the year last weekend. Mm-hmm. I want to hear some stories, man.
We ended our camp 2018 season at our family fall camp. We had 12 families up there, 24 volunteers, so just over 100 people. Of the 12, we had 10 that were brand new to our program. So this was a new experience for all of them. Of the two, one of them had been to another camp, and the other one was there last year. So we took all of these people up there, and we went up to Cathedral Pines, a campground that we rented, and we just set a stage of beauty that just lined up perfectly with the stars, from the weather to the positivity and vibe. It was phenomenal. We worked alongside with Higher Ground, another nonprofit organization that provides services for volunteer or veterans up in the Wood River Valley and disabled people. And they came in and they provided a whole array of activities, and we did everything. You know, if you close your eyes, we're summer camp. We're mountain biking and archery and all of the simple things, from arts and crafts to the team building things that you would imagine. You know, every camp that we throw, we build this amazing schedule and calendar of these activities that are just jam-packed. It always amazes us what we are able to fit into a week. And the things that resonate and the things that we fall asleep to when we come home have nothing to do with that schedule. So, you know, if I look back at last weekend, the 5 days I spent with those families up there, it has nothing to do with the activities. It is it's the in-between moments that are very crucial. It's the connections. It's the silly family feud things where parents are getting up in front of each other and just being awkward and just telling embarrassing stories about their family in front of each other, to siblings pushing each other on our ropes challenge course. It's them. I got to listen to a pep talk that a sister had with a brother that he was actually too afraid to do it this past summer, and he just cried on the side with his cabin, and he was stepping up to do the next challenge. And I got to listen to this beautiful teenager look at her 10-year-old brother and give him a pep talk that would have rivaled Vince Lombardi. It was absolutely brilliant, and they came to me and then expected inspiration from me, and I just looked at him and I just said, listen to your sister. Just listen to your sister. And you know, it's everything from, you know, like I mentioned earlier, watching these same volunteers just love on my family, to you know, sitting up talking about the volunteers. We had volunteers that lined this camp up, and for their vision and dreams to then play out up at camp, and for them to see how intentional the ideas of even our verbiage had circle up. What does this mean? What direction and what things are we trying to accomplish? For them to say, wow, we did it. It's a pretty empowering moment for sure. We had we have some wild moments up at camp. You know, it's all love and hope and fun, and you know, that's our vision and mantra of our entire organization. But you know, when it comes down to it, there's more than that when there's reality in it. So to then be privy to the conversations of parents talking about the shitty things, about the anger, the fear, about how their life has been disrupted, and how they're just financially riddled going through this process, thinking about holidays now, and you know, what they're going to do. I've had parents unpack what it means to have an adult child the rest of their life in front of me. It's a very beautiful opportunity that I get to watch some of the most raw and heartbreaking things, and all in tune that what I've found is cancer doesn't discriminate. It for sure attacks every family that's going through anything. Families that are keeping it together, families that are barely holding it together before this happens, and ones that have coping skills and mechanisms in place that they have the structure to battle something like this, and then families that it just completely rips apart. And again, like I was telling you about, another part of our program that not very many people talk about is our young adults team. It's that those campers that are tooled to come to our program, but not able to make that step to be a volunteer to keep the kids safe, whether it's mentally or physically. And we spend a lot of time with our young adults program teaching very simple things from hygiene to how to get a job, how to interview, how to do the very simple things that we're taught young. And so our program is vast. It's wild, right? I try to sit back, because if you say Camp Rainbow Gold, it sounds like campfires and horseback riding. And it's the thing that I've fallen in love about it is everything is intentional. It's something, again, that we should be doing in our life. Why are we saying this to each other? Why are we here? What is this whole thing about? And diving into things that deeply, it gives you a sense of direction and motivation that is it's motivating for sure. It's for sure something that fills your cups and saying, oh, this is needed. There is a reason why we do this, and that's what camp is. We haven't put very many photos out from this past camp season, mostly just because I came home to a dog that needed surgery and a lot of sleep that needed to be caught up. So you guys will be seeing a lot of the love and just absolute celebration of life that we had up there with these families. But most importantly, it was awkward. It was awesome because there were so many new people there, and even though that they're in this horrible conversation together, it's pretty rad that they have this space to then share, because regardless of whether this camp is around and whether they sign up for it or not, they're going through it. And to be able to have a platform like that, to be able to say me too, is again, priceless.
Speaking of platforms to share the experience of what people are going through, tell me about the open letter to cancer.
It's a pretty cool thing. We it sparked from a family camp. We at each one of our family camps, we split the kids up in the parents, and we try to be, again, intentional about our programming of what we do and make it age appropriate, and just set aside some time for the kids to connect on a kid level, and for the parents to have this time set aside. So right after dinner, we break and we go into this full, beautiful, crazy carnival for the kids, and then we dive into this parents' night. This parents' night is on the opposite side of camp, and we normally sit them in a circle, and we have these fun, random icebreaker games that we play with them. And then we dive into an activity, something fun for them that they want to be able to still conversate, but then participate, something to take home. And gosh, it was 4 years ago, our first winter camp. We went up to Cathedral Pines, and we were sitting in that circle with our parents. And again, camp is all just positive vibes, just a good feel. It's utopia, what we call it up there. And we got the parents playing this game, and introductions had been started, and they started to take a turn. Like there was one dad that started, just introducing his family, and saying, "This is fucked up. This is not at all what I signed up for." Said, "I still have a lot of anger, and it happens every day, and it happens about every 10 minutes. And I'm standing on the outside of this circle, kind of playing double dutch, going, oh shit, what did we just step in?" Because then the next family started talking about it. And I'm sitting there trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I stop this, derail it, get it back to a positive vibe? And by about, I'd say, one family more, the next family, it started to go down a negative vibe as well. And I started to recognize all of the faces and heads nodding. And it was something that was so, just unfound at camp. Like, just venom doesn't surface a lot up at camp. And I recognized it's a pressure valve. And whether or not it's appropriate or whether or not it's ever said at all, it's real. And I got to hear a lot of parents say their true feelings about what it means to be on the road that they're on. And we went home, and again, being a part of Camp Rainbow Gold, I'm able to stand on the shoulder of giants. I was able to meet and start knowing and working with two ridiculously talented photographers and videographers, Tony Anderson and Ryan Posey, and Huck. And we just started this process. What would you say? What would you say if you could talk to cancer? And so we kicked it off, and we booked out a studio for a day, and we put it out to all of our families of saying, write an open letter, give it to your kids. If they want to come in, we would love to hear what they would have to say if they had the opportunity to say something to cancer. And believe it or not, our entire day booked up overnight. And I want to say we had about 28 letters that were read that day.
Wow.
And we opened it up. We opened it up very shortly after that. And what we saw is we saw these families coming in. It was a family event. And about the second or third family that came in, this mom of two beautiful girls in our program. One's a teenager, and one is 9 at the time. She's 11 now. She said, I don't know what you guys are doing with this. I don't know where it's going to go, but just the exercise that we had around our dinner table last night was worth everything in the world to me. To be able to hear what my teenager actually thinks about what we've been through was important. It was something that the teenager didn't open up until she had that alley to actually voice her opinions and thoughts and fears and ideas. And it was something that we just kind of stuck back. Ryan and Tony and I were in this room of some of the most raw and crazy letters. There were letters from moms, dads, brothers, sisters, cancer survivors, grandpas, nurses, doctors, friends, neighbors. We opened it up to anyone that's been affected by cancer. And is what was wild is those letters, they toggled from inspiration to beauty to being reborn to devastation. We had one dad who had lost his son within the year that he wrote this letter. And he opened it up with this middle finger saying, fuck you. And he just let that sit there. To be in a room with a man who's probably twice the size of you, I just have no idea what those two words actually mean to him. And to just sit there and hear it just shake the room was wild. And he gets up, and his son comes in and says the same thing. And the very next family comes in and says, it's taught us so many things. It's brought us closer together. It's brought so many beautiful things into our life. And then the next one is something different and different and different. And so what was wild is we started to say, this is the pressure valve. This is what people need. This is something that people just want to say, this is what it is. And not only that, there's a total flip side. Is it's so important to get that off of your chest, but then to hear others. And so we're in a process of we've done multiple shootings. We have many letters that are just absolutely beautiful, that go from the most articulate, oncologist at St. Luke's could create to pictures that a toddler drew because he can't write words. And it's one of those projects that we just see at open source that anybody can jump on and listen to letters of a sibling and then submit their own. Just an open source of connection and community. It's something that we didn't know what we were starting. We just knew that people needed to get stuff off of their chest. And it's turned into something else.
Extraordinary. What a find to come across that, especially in the situation that it originated in. It's got to be just wildly therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, I've been captivated by every word that you said tonight, man. I've never said so little in my life.
Yeah, man.
But,
Same here. We've been dead, but dude, you've been awesome.
Good.
I appreciate
I
you
love it.
sharing.
Very eloquent.
Well, like I said,
everything
man, you
you
shouldn't
shared.
give a microphone to a camp person, man.
Man, we give it to the right guy.
I
Yeah.
love talking camp stories.
Absolutely.
I
gave it
prepared
to the right
songs. I've got all of it, man. Pranks and everything.
guy. Man, I just hanging on to everything he said, man. It's captivating. It's heartbreaking. It's inspiring. It's it's amazing, man. It's been through a world of emotions in the past 90 minutes. And I want to thank you for your time
I
and coming in
appreciate
and
you guys.
sharing what you've shared.
Yeah, this is the tip of the iceberg, man. We'll have to
mean,
get you back on.
I'd love to.
Definitely,
Anytime.
definitely want you
Yeah.
to come back.
Bring somebody on with you next time.
Deal. Well, you guys
If
saw
you got
Colin
like
on
a
the mats
survivor
today.
or somebody who's got a really cool story or something,
Absolutely.
feel free to just let him know. We'll book the time out. We'll make sure
I
that
would
you
love it.
guys get the airtime for sure.
And in the meantime, how do people see what you're doing? How do people follow you? How do people connect with you? You have a website, you've got social media. How do people get in touch with you guys?
Totally. I'm glad you asked that. Start with our website, camprainbowgold.org, and then tune into our social media platforms. But we have calendars and events on our Facebook and website. Those are the best ways to stay in touch. And if you want to, just be crazy. Pick up the phone. We would love to talk to you guys. There's a whole team of beautiful people that just are ready for you guys to pick up the phone and help some pretty amazing kids here in Idaho.
You're talking for volunteer work.
All of
you
it.
guys are always looking for volunteers. Okay, cool.
All of it. Everything from and that's the crazy part is we have everything from the huge commitments that people invest in of going up for a week to camp to the hour of administrative volunteering in our office. So there is every few far in between from children being involved to adults. So start at our website, camprainbowgold.org. Check out our Vimeo channel. I'm just so aesthetically driven. I just love pictures and videos. If you Google Camp Rainbow Gold Vimeo, there's about 80 videos on there that just absolutely sing our praise and show our mission of providing emotionally empowering experiences. And then our social media platforms, for sure follow us. If you need a daily dose of inspiration, seeing some smiles and some pretty cool kids is one way to do it, I promise you.
I'm on your website right now, and I mean it's fantastic. You got the information about the camp itself, members, directors, the history. Read through the history. That's great stuff. You talked about it a little bit about doctor in Twin Falls and kids being heartbroken they couldn't go to camp, and he just stopped and said, "Well, why not?" And it was.
We are the little engine that
amazing.
could.
It's really cool.
Our program was done away with by the American Cancer Society 4 years ago. 2012, we got the news that they were doing away with all their quality of life services. There was 42. There's the numbers not sure, but there's 42 to 46 other programs that I have no doubt in my mind they meant just as much to their communities as ours did. But we were one of very few that were able to take that step out and actually create our own 501c3 nonprofit. So it is the volunteers that picked this ball up when the American Cancer Society didn't want to anymore, and not only kept running with it, but has exceeded in all speeds and scopes. it's a pretty amazing thing from just what I've seen in the last 4 years of our community supporting it. Corey Barton Homes, they renovated a home of ours to make it our office and did $60,000+ in that. There's just, I can tell stories like that for days of what people are willing and able to do if they just need to know how. And yeah, man, before we part, I just don't wait. Just get involved, whatever your passion is, whatever you can teach someone, whatever you're into. I promise you there's a kid that's thinking about it. Just talk to everybody. Tell them that you're there and tell them that you're interested. And I promise you that there's a nonprofit that does something almost exactly like that needs people's talents. And if not your talents, then your time. And if not your time, then your money.
There's plenty of ways to get involved on the website here. You can donate, volunteer, information about fundraising, sponsorships, etc. I mean, the list goes on of ways that people can get involved.
Yeah, man.
Which, man, that's amazing. Well, again, thanks so much for joining us and talking about what you got going on and Camp Rainbow Gold. It's something that I know I've heard of it plenty of times. Didn't really know much about it, honestly, until meeting you, talking to you over the past year, and then, of course, with this month of fundraising and all the things we were doing through the gym. But I've learned a lot in the past hour and a half. That's just incredible, and it's super inspiring, and I think I'm excited to see people get involved, man.
I'm glad we took the time.
For sure.
Yeah, let us know if there's anything that Channel 99 can do.
Absolutely.
And we'd be more than happy to have kids on here and stuff and do, a little bit of some airtime for kids, be on the radio.
So fun.
That'd be a blast.
So
man.
fun.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there who'd like to just get on here and make noises.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
Be careful what you ask for, guys. That's right. I love it.
It's worth it.
Well, you guys are
Donate
awesome.
my time. For sure. Man.
Keep doing it. Thoroughly impressed with this. This is great.
Thank you. It's people like you who keep this going and who motivate people like Cameron and myself to continue what we do. And I think it's important that our community has a mouthpiece, and this is one of the many ways that we can get out information pro bono without having to deal too much with marketing and ads and dealing with all the hoops that a lot of people have to jump through to get on the actual radio. So this is the next best thing, and that's what we're trying to do for the community. And you are a wonderful piece of that community that we want to get out, that needs more exposure. And for us to have you on the show, it's definitely it's humbling. So thank you for spending your time.
Guys.
For
this
sure.
Is great.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Cameron, for tapping me out today too.
I don't think I did. I'm pretty sure that didn't happen. It was always great to see you on the mats, man, and I look forward to seeing you off the mats and getting involved with some good stuff.
Much love, for sure.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody, to the Free Roll Podcast with Cameron and Tim, and have a wonderful rest of your day.